Emma Whitaker stood in her late mother's attic on a cold Saturday in early December, surrounded by boxes she'd been avoiding for 6 months. Her mother, Patricia, had died in May at 78, and Emma had finally forced herself to start sorting through the house before putting it on the market. At 42, Emma felt too young to be orphaned. Her father had died when she was 12. Now, with her mother gone too, she was unmoored. No partner, no children of her own, just a demanding job as an HR director and an empty apartment waiting for her back in the city. She opened a box labeled Emma Childhood in her mother's handwriting. Inside were relics from a life that felt impossibly distant. Report cards, drawings, a worn teddy bear, birthday cards she'd made for her parents. And at the bottom, wrapped carefully in tissue paper, was something that made Emma catch her breath. A snow globe. Not just any snow globe, her snow globe, the one that had sat on her bedside table from ages 7 to 18, the one she'd shaken every night before bed, the one she'd whispered wishes to when she couldn't sleep. Emma lifted it carefully from the box. It was about 6 inches tall, with a wooden base that had been painted dark green, though the paint was chipping now. Inside the glass dome was a winter scene. A small Victorian house with a red door. A tiny Christmas tree beside it. A family of 4 figures standing in the snow. Mother, father, 2 children. She turned it over. On the bottom, in faded marker, were the words she'd written when she was 8. Emma's magic snow globe. Emma smiled despite herself. She'd been so certain this snow globe was magic, that if she shook it and made a wish while the snow was falling, the wish would come true. She remembered the wishes she'd made. For a puppy, never got one. Her mother was allergic. For her father not to be sick anymore. He'd died anyway, 2 years after she got the globe. For her mother to be happy again. That one took years, but eventually, Patricia had found joy. For a best friend, Rachel moved in next door when Emma was 9. For good grades, she'd been a straight-A student. For her first kiss to be perfect, it had been, with Danny Martinez at the 8th grade dance. Looking back, some wishes had come true, and some hadn't. But Emma had believed so fiercely in this snow globe's magic. Had shaken it religiously every single night, watching the glitter swirl around the tiny family inside. When had she stopped? Sometime in high school, probably. When belief in magic gave way to SAT prep and college applications and the practical concerns of almost adulthood. Emma shook the globe now, watching the white glitter, meant to be snow, swirl around the tiny house. Some of it had clumped together over the years, but it still moved, still created that hypnotic snow effect. And without really thinking about it, without meaning to, Emma whispered, "I wish I wasn't so lonely." The words surprised her. She hadn't meant to say them out loud, hadn't even fully acknowledged to herself how lonely she'd been feeling, especially since her mother died. Her job was demanding but unfulfilling. Her friendships had grown shallow, more about occasional drinks than real connection. She'd been single for 3 years since her last relationship ended. Emma set the snow globe down, feeling foolish. She was 42 years old, standing in her dead mother's attic, making wishes on a childhood toy. This was pathetic. She packed the snow globe carefully in a smaller box to take home with her, along with a few photo albums and her mother's jewelry box. The rest could wait for another day. Back at her apartment that evening, Emma placed the snow globe on her bedside table, just like when she was a child. It looked out of place in her modern, minimalist bedroom. But somehow right too. A piece of her past, a connection to her mother, a reminder of when she'd believed in magic. Before bed, she shook it again, watching the glitter fall, and again, without meaning to, she whispered, "I wish I wasn't so lonely." On Monday morning, Emma's routine started normally. Coffee, shower, her usual subway commute to the office. But when she arrived, her assistant Jasmine was waiting with an unusual message. "There's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important. Her name is Rachel Kimura." Emma froze. "Rachel Kimura?" "Yes, do you know her?" Emma knew her. Rachel Chen, now Kimura apparently. Her childhood best friend. The girl who'd moved in next door when Emma was 9 and had been inseparable from her until they were 17, when Rachel's family moved to California. They'd promised to stay in touch, had written letters and emails for a year or two, but eventually life got in the way, and they'd drifted apart. Emma hadn't spoken to Rachel in over 20 years. "Send her in," Emma heard herself say. A moment later, Rachel walked into her office, and it was like seeing a ghost. She looked different. Older, obviously, her black hair now cut short, laugh lines around her eyes. But unmistakably Rachel. "Emma." Rachel's voice was tentative. "I'm sorry to just show up like this. I wasn't sure you'd want to see me." "Rachel, oh my God." Emma stood up, uncertain whether to hug her or shake her hand. Rachel solved it by pulling her into an embrace. "I can't believe this," Emma said. "What are you doing here? How did you find me?" "I'm in town for work. I'm a consultant now, traveling a lot. I saw on LinkedIn that you work here. I know it's crazy to just show up, but I was thinking about you this weekend, about old times, and I thought, why not? Maybe it's time to reconnect." They talked for 2 hours. Rachel was married, had 2 kids, lived in Portland. Her marriage was struggling. She and her husband were in counseling. She'd been feeling disconnected, nostalgic for simpler times, which is why she'd looked Emma up. "Do you remember that snow globe you had?" Rachel asked. "The one you thought was magic?" Emma felt chills run down her arms. "Actually, yes. I just found it this weekend, in my mom's attic." "No way. I was just thinking about that. Remember how you'd make me wish on it too? You were so serious about it. You had all these rules about how the wishes had to work." "I was an intense kid." "You were a magical kid. You made everything feel possible." They made plans to have dinner that week. Rachel was in town for 10 days. They'd catch up properly, make up for lost time. After Rachel left, Emma sat at her desk in a daze. What were the odds? She'd wished to not be lonely on Saturday night. And Monday morning, her childhood best friend, the friend she'd once wished for on the snow globe, showed up out of nowhere. Coincidence? Had to be. The snow globe wasn't actually magic. That was a child's fantasy. But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something strange was happening. That night, she shook the snow globe again. This time, she thought carefully before making her wish. If this was real, if there was even a chance, what did she really want? "I wish," she said slowly, "for a sign about my career, about whether I should stay in this job or make a change." She'd been feeling restless at work for years, but had been too afraid to do anything about it. The job paid well, had good benefits, was stable, but it didn't fulfill her. She'd wanted to be a teacher when she was younger, had studied education in college, but had gotten pulled into corporate HR instead because it paid better. The next day, Emma's boss called her into his office. She expected another project assignment. Instead, he offered her a promotion, a significant one, with a substantial raise, to become VP of Human Resources for the entire company. It was everything she should want: more money, more responsibility, recognition. But sitting in his office, Emma felt nothing but dread. This wasn't what she wanted. This was more of what was already making her miserable. More corporate politics, more meaningless meetings, more time doing work that didn't matter to her. "Can I think about it?" she asked. Her boss looked surprised but agreed. "Take a few days. But Emma, this is a great opportunity. Don't overthink it." That evening, Emma met Rachel for dinner. She told her about the promotion, about her confusion. "Do you remember what you wanted to be when we were kids?" Rachel asked. "A teacher. Elementary school." "So why aren't you?" "Life, money, practical concerns, the usual reasons people give up on their dreams." "You're 42, not 92. It's not too late." Emma shook the snow globe that night with a new wish. "I wish for the courage to make the right choice, whatever that is." Over the next week, things kept happening. Small things, strange things. Emma ran into a former college friend at a coffee shop, someone who now ran a private elementary school, and mentioned they were looking for a new third-grade teacher. "I know you're in corporate now, but if you ever thought about getting back to your education roots." Emma's mother's best friend called to tell her that Patricia had left a small life insurance policy Emma didn't know about, enough to give her a financial cushion for a year or two if she wanted to make a career change. Rachel's marriage counseling session went surprisingly well, and she credited reconnecting with Emma as part of what helped her gain clarity. Seeing you reminded me of who I used to be, what I valued. It helped. Each night, Emma shook the snow globe and made a new wish. For clarity, for courage, for the life she was meant to live. And each day brought small miracles. Not dramatic, Hollywood-style magic, but meaningful coincidences that felt like the universe conspiring in her favor. On December 15th, 10 days after finding the snow globe, Emma made a decision. She turned down the promotion. She applied for the teaching position at the private school. She started the process of selling her mother's house and using that money, plus the insurance, to create financial stability while she transitioned careers. It was terrifying, but it also felt right in a way nothing had felt right in years. That night, she shook the snow globe and whispered, "Thank you." But on December 16th, Emma woke up to find the snow globe had cracked, not shattered, just a hairline fracture running from the top of the dome to the base. The water inside had leaked out overnight, leaving a puddle on her bedside table and the glitter clumped at the bottom. The magic was broken. Emma felt a wave of grief out of proportion to a broken toy. But it wasn't just a toy. It was her connection to childhood, to her mother, to a time when she'd believed in magic. She carefully set the broken globe on a shelf and went about her day, but she felt the loss keenly. That evening, Rachel came over for what would be their last dinner before Rachel flew back to Portland. Emma showed her the broken snow globe. "Oh no," Rachel said, "your magic globe. It's silly to be upset about it." "It's not silly, it meant something to you." They sat together, looking at the broken globe, and Rachel said, "Can I tell you something about that globe?" "What?" "The Christmas you got it? You were 7, right? You just lost your dad that year?" 2 years before. I got it when I was 7, but my dad died when I was 5. Right. Your mom told my mom that she'd bought you that globe specifically because you were so sad that Christmas. You kept saying you wished your dad could come back, wished your family could be whole again. Your mom couldn't give you that, but she wanted to give you something to wish on. Something that might make you feel hopeful again. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I didn't know that. Your mom told you it was magic. She wrote, "Magic Snow Globe," on the bottom herself, before she gave it to you. She wanted you to believe in something. Did she know it wasn't really magic? Rachel smiled gently. I think she knew that believing in magic can be its own kind of magic. That if you believe your wishes can come true, you pay more attention to opportunities. You notice when good things happen. You're braver about going after what you want. Emma picked up the broken globe, turning it carefully in her hands. I made a wish on this the night I found it, she said. I wished I wasn't so lonely. And the next day you showed up after 20 years. Maybe I was going to show up anyway. Maybe I'd been thinking about you and was going to reach out regardless. Maybe. Or maybe the globe made me more open to reconnecting. Made me actually happy to see you instead of awkward or resentful about lost time. And your career stuff? Maybe those opportunities were always there, and I just needed to believe in myself enough to notice them and act on them. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Rachel said, Your mom gave you magic by making you believe in it. That's not a small thing, Em. That shaped who you are. After Rachel left, Emma looked at the snow globe for a long time. Then she did something that surprised herself. She got out super glue and carefully, painstakingly glued the crack back together. It wouldn't hold water anymore. The seal was broken. The snow would never swirl again. But she could keep it, as a reminder. Not of childhood magic, but of adult wisdom. That believing in possibility opens doors. That paying attention to what you want helps you find it. That courage and hope can create their own kind of magic. She placed the repaired snow globe back on her shelf and went to her computer. She drafted an email to the school accepting the teaching position. Starting January 15th, she would be a third-grade teacher, the job she'd dreamed about at age 7 when she'd shaken her magic snow globe and wished for her future. The globe hadn't made it happen, but it had made her believe she could make it happen, and belief, Emma was learning, was the most powerful magic of all. On Christmas Eve, Emma's first official day off before starting her new job, she sat in her apartment with the snow globe in her lap. She'd been thinking about her mother all day, about the gift Patricia had given her 35 years ago. Not a toy, but belief. Not magic, but hope. Emma's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Emma Whitaker? A young woman's voice. Yes. My name is Sophie Martinez. I'm Danny Martinez's daughter. This is gonna sound random, but my dad has been going through old photos and found some from middle school, and you're in a bunch of them. He's been telling me stories about when you were kids, and I looked you up, and I saw you're going to be teaching at Brookfield Elementary starting in January. Emma's mind was racing. Danny Martinez. Her first kiss, at the 8th grade dance. The wish she'd made on the snow globe for that kiss to be perfect. My dad teaches at Brookfield, Sophie continued. 5th grade. He's been there for 10 years. Small world, right? Anyway, he wanted me to reach out and say congratulations on the new job. He's looking forward to working with you again, after all these years. After hanging up, Emma laughed out loud. Danny Martinez. Teaching at the same school where she'd be starting in 3 weeks. The universe had a sense of humor. Or maybe, just maybe, some of that childhood magic was real after all. She picked up the snow globe, held it to the light. The glitter was permanently settled at the bottom now, frozen in place. But the little family inside still stood in their eternal winter, in front of their Victorian house with the red door, forever together. Emma thought about all the wishes she'd made on this globe over the years. Some had come true, some hadn't. Some had come true in unexpected ways, years or decades later. Her father hadn't come back, but her mother had found happiness eventually. Emma had wished for friendship and found Rachel. She'd wished for good grades and worked hard to earn them. She'd wished for her first kiss to be perfect, and it had been, with Danny, who was now going to be her colleague. And she'd wished just 2 weeks ago not to be lonely. That wish was coming true too, not through magic, but through her own courage to reconnect with old friends, to change her career, to open herself up to new possibilities. The snow globe hadn't granted the wishes, but it had made her believe that wishes were worth making, that hoping for better was worth the risk, that the future could be different from the present if she was brave enough to try. On Christmas morning, Emma received a text from Rachel. Merry Christmas! Portland is snowy and beautiful. Thinking about you and that magic snow globe. Thank you for coming back into my life at exactly the right moment. Emma smiled and texted back. Thank you for showing up when I needed you. Maybe magic is just the right people appearing at the right time. She looked at the snow globe one more time, then placed it carefully on her bookshelf. Not hidden away, but not front and center either. Just there. A reminder of childhood, of her mother's love, of the power of believing in possibility. In 3 weeks, Emma would start her new job teaching 3rd grade. She'd be working alongside Danny Martinez, reconnecting with someone from her past while building her future. She'd be doing work that mattered to her. Work that 8-year-old Emma would have been proud of. The snow globe sat on the shelf, its snow permanently settled, its magic, if it had ever been magic, no longer active. But Emma Whitaker, at 42, had learned something her mother had tried to teach her at 7. Magic isn't about snow globes granting wishes. Magic is about believing enough in your own worth, your own dreams, your own possibilities, that you notice opportunities when they appear, and you're brave enough to take them. Her mother had given her a snow globe and told her it was magic, and in doing so, she'd given Emma something far more valuable, the belief that her wishes mattered, that she deserved good things, that the future could be better than the present. That was magic, the realest kind. Emma picked up her phone and called the school principal. Hi, this is Emma Whitaker. I start in January, teaching 3rd grade. I was wondering if you need any help before then. Decorating classrooms, planning curriculum, anything. I'm free and I'm excited to get started. The principal laughed, delighted. Actually, yes, we're doing a winter festival for the kids this weekend. Could you help Danny Martinez with the craft stations? He's been doing them solo for years and could use an extra pair of hands. I'd love to, Emma said. After hanging up, she walked to the shelf and picked up the snow globe one last time. The water was gone, the snow would never fall again, the crack was visible even through the careful glue repair. But the little family inside still stood together. Still weathered their eternal winter. Still waited in front of their house with hope. Emma set the globe back on the shelf and went to get ready for the winter festival, where she'd see Danny Martinez for the first time in 28 years, where she'd start building the career she'd dreamed about as a child, where she'd begin the next chapter of her life. The snow globe hadn't made any of this happen, but believing it could had made all the difference.